May 2025, come and gone. Another month of 2025, gone. So I had a really busy month this month. So we're going to talk about memories and experiences, the books that I read, spoiler free as always, purchases that I made, and decks that I used. And then I'll show you June's moon tray at the very end, at the outro part. So memories and experiences. First of all, my grandma turned 98 in May. She is crazy. Like, she lives on her own. She still does all of her own stuff. She's just, things are falling down beside me, so I'm trying to. She is a miracle of a human being. Crazy. So we had her 98th birthday party, and I'm not really going to show any photos because there's lots of family members and I don't really have their permission to post them. So we're not gonna be blasting my family on the internet. Not blasting, but posting. But that happened. So that was kind of like a big deal. Her mother, so my great grandmother, lived to be 98. So she died in her 99th year. So she's the same age that her mother was when she passed away. Hopefully, she'll last to. I want her to make it to 100 at least, so that'll be good. But she has now officially started her 99th trip around the sun. So kind of a big deal, especially she's, like I said, on her own. She's still walking, cuts her own grass, all of the crazy things that she probably shouldn't be doing, she still does. So we had that. That was very beginning of the month. And then I had a spa day booked. So I was supposed to go with a friend, and this friend couldn't make it. So I took a vacation day from work to go, and I decided to go anyway by myself. I'm very nervous when it comes to doing things by myself. So I thought this would be an excellent opportunity for me to get over that, or just kind of exposure therapy myself to that. And something bad happened, which something bad always happens every time I try and do something by myself, which really sucks. But what ended up happening was, in the morning, I wanted to wear a ring. I don't know why. Don't ask me why. My hands felt naked, and I wanted it to be gold because I knew I was going to be going in pools and hot tubs and whatever, so you don't want sterling silver in chemical pools. So gold. And the ring I chose was an heirloom of my grandma's. It was her 10th wedding anniversary diamond ring. Very, very tiny diamonds. My family does not come from money. In fact, they probably come from poverty more than anything else. So it was tiny, but I wore it. And la-di-da, I'm doing my thing. The first stop, I went into a sauna, I did a cold plunge, went back into the sauna. I walked over and read a part of my book in a swinging chair thing that I loved, found it online, $400, not buying that. And then I was in a hot tub, and I was like, where's my ring? Gone. So I went to the front desk. I told them I lost this ring. Has anyone turned it in? They said no. They took a description of it. They took my phone number. And I went, the place I thought I would have lost it was in the cold plunge, because when I'm cold, my fingers constrict, and when I'm hot, they get really chubby. So my rings sometimes fall off when my fingers get really cold. So the cold plunge made sense to me. The cold plunge pool was a tiny little square of a pool, and it wasn't in there. So, but at the same time, this feeling of calm came over me. I knew it was going to be found. I don't know how I knew that, but I did. It might not be that day, but I knew it was going to be found. So I wasn't worried about the ring being found. I was just angry with myself that I didn't listen to my intuition in the morning that said you shouldn't wear that, and I did it anyway. So at some point I had lunch, I had a drink, I went back to the front desk to kind of exchange my house coat for a more dry one. And I thought, well, I'm here, I'm just going to ask. So it was the same lady that I had the conversation with in the morning when I told her I lost it, and I asked her, and she said, no, I'm so sorry. And then someone popped their head out of a side room, and they were like, excuse me, what ring? So I told them, and they said, yeah, our cleaning lady found it in the change room. I took it off to put lotion on, and I set it on a counter. Now that in hindsight, I have memory of doing that, but at the time I did not remember doing that. So it was found, all was good, but it was just kind of like one of those things where I took a leap and did something by myself, and that happened. So it just kind of makes me really nervous about doing anything by myself in the future. I will go back to that spa, probably not by myself, but it was a great experience. Not allowed to take photos in there, so I've just kind of spliced in photos from their website. But sure, other than that, it was good. It was relaxing, a little awkward being there by myself, but there were other people who were also there by themselves, so we were all in the same boat. The other thing that was kind of surprising that happened in May was that I made a reintroduction video on my channel, and people had posted VRs to it. I did not expect that to happen at all. That was not my intention when I posted it. It was just I had gained a significant amount of new followers in the first couple of months of 2025. So I just wanted to do a reintroduction. And I wasn't even going to put the prompts in the description box because I wasn't anticipating anyone doing a VR. But at the last minute, I decided to put the prompts in the description box because sometimes I like to follow along when people are doing VRs or when they are answering questions. I like to follow along in the description box. So that's why I ended up doing it. And now we have people posting VRs, which is insane to me. So I've been watching every single one. I have watched every single second. I have not fast forwarded or skipped. I've watched every single second of every one. And I think I've commented on every single one. I might have missed some because I got a phone call when I was in the middle of watching one of them, and it kind of screwed up the order of the videos that I had to watch, and I couldn't remember which ones I'd commented on. So if I didn't comment on yours, let me know and I will comment on it. But thank you. That was a big surprise. I was not expecting people to post VRs to that. So that was kind of like a what moment in May for my channel anyway. The other thing I did, I went to a gem and mineral show. So this was something I was told about at Easter. At Easter weekend, I went to a store out East Ontario, not East Canada, and they told me that, oh, have you heard of this gem and mineral show that this town puts on every May? I'd never heard of it. This is the 11th annual, and I was like, I'm going. So I put it in my calendar the second she told me about it, and my mom and I went. Off we went. And I know I'm not supposed to buy crystals. I know that was something I'd said for myself, but I did. I think this is an exception to the rule. It's a gem and mineral show. It's only the second one I've been to in my entire life. And yeah, there's an exception. So I made an exception. It was like, I think it was $50 to $60 is what I spent. So that's what the purchases section will cover, is the crystals that I bought at that gem and mineral show. And then I did buy some crystals on some Instagram live sales. Not many though. So, but I don't have them in my possession yet. So they'll be probably next month. So this gem and mineral show was very small town, and I wasn't disappointed with it. The other gem and mineral show I have been to is in Toronto, and I was really disappointed with that one. But this one, I actually really enjoyed it. It did have like a small town feel, which was really cute and sweet. So I was enjoying that kind of vibe. And the people that I bought crystals from, loved them. Their personalities, they were so great. They were so kind, so friendly, so informative. And it was just really interesting to be able to connect with like-minded people and see all of these stunning specimens. Like everywhere I looked, there were beautiful pieces. Some of them huge, some of them not as big, but it's funny because at some point I had probably been walking around for maybe 7 minutes, and I was like, why is my face hurting? And it was just because I was smiling so hard the whole time, just being in the presence of these people and probably the beautiful crystal babies that were everywhere. But the opposite happened for my mom. My mom is very affected by crystal energy, let's say. I'm not entirely sure, but she actually felt quite sick being in that building. It didn't happen right away. It was more so near the end when we were leaving. The whole car ride home, she was feeling sick. And then that whole night at home, she basically went to bed. She was just feeling wonky. She was just feeling off. And that's not the first time that's happened to my mom. And my mom is kind of like, she is very in tune with stuff like that. And there is a history of like premonitions and clairvoyance on her side of the family. There's even been times where my mom has said something super off the wall, super bizarre, and then later on something happened and it was like, oh my God, that you said that earlier today. So I do think that there is a little something extra to my mom, but I was smiling ear to ear, so much so that my face was hurting. So maybe that's the effect that crystals have on me. That's maybe why I buy them so much. They just make me so happy. So kind of an interesting little moment, but loved the gem show, loved all the pieces. Like I said, just literally smiling ear to ear the entire time. So those purchases will be in the purchases section. There's not too many of them. I was a good girl also. So that'll be in the purchases section. The other thing that happened in May, I've never talked about this, I don't think. I'm a huge Survivor fan, and my friends are huge Survivor fans. So we get together every Wednesday, we rotate dinner duties, and we watch Survivor. So on nights where I have to cook, we don't do it at my house. Unfortunately, it's kind of, we don't really have a living room seating area with a TV. So I have to like cook something and bring it to my friend's house, which is super annoying and I absolutely hate it, but whatever. It works out in the end because they also cook the other weeks. But what we do is we draw names from a hat and we each get 3 contestants. That's just how it works out with how many people are in the pool. And we watch Survivor. And this year I didn't win, but my contestant made it to the final 3. And that's the first time that's happened in a while. Usually I'm, for some reason, one of the first people out of the whole pool. And then my work got word that I do this with my friends and they wanted to do a Survivor pool. So for the last few seasons, I've also been doing a Survivor pool at work, and I make this giant Bristol board with torches. And every time someone gets voted out, I take the fire-colored tissue paper and put in the smoke-colored tissue paper. It's a whole thing. Same thing. We draw for names. This is very popular at my work. Everybody wants to participate, so everyone only gets 1 contestant, and then usually there's a wait list for next season of people who didn't make it in time, didn't reply in time for this one. And I pulled the same person. So the person I had was Joe, and he's the one who made it to the final 3. So that's the second season in a row where I've had the same person in both of my separate pools, which is super unfortunate because it would make your odds bigger if you had different people. But at least I made it to the final 3. So that was kind of exciting, but also kind of a glimpse into my Survivor life, my Survivor world, because we're big Survivor guys here, big Survivor guys. And the person who won my work pool doesn't even watch it. Also frustrating. Books. I read 4 books this month. Again, I try to aim for 1 book a week. Let me double check if it's 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. So 3 of them are my own. 1 of them is a book club book. So the first one I read, I listened to on Audible, is called A Touch of Darkness. And this is a Hades and Persephone. I don't want to call it a retelling because it's not, it does not follow the traditional story that we hear about Hades and Persephone. It's a reimagined tale, I guess. This is by Scarlett St. Clair. It was free on Audible. I went to the Audible free section and I was like, I want to pick a book to listen to that I don't have to use a credit for, and this was free. So, and my friends in my book club had read it and they raved about it, so I thought I would try it. I had a hard time with the lack of tradition surrounding the Greek myth. I constantly was having to remind, like I would be like, that's not what that god does, or that's not how that happened. And I constantly had to bring myself back down. No, it's a whole other story. Take yourself out of that altogether. It is a whole other story. And when I was able to remind myself of that, I did enjoy it a little better. But if you're a Greek mythology person, it'll be a struggle. This was our book club book. It is called Bourbon and Lies. It's part of a series. Actually, so is Touch of Darkness, I believe. So this is Victoria Wilder. Like I said, my book club book has decided to become spice only. I don't love it. And going forward, I have decided to be petty. I'm going to suggest the most unhinged spice books ever. Just because that's what they want. That's what they're going to get. So Bourbon and Lies, part of a series. She is in the witness protection program. She gets sent to live with this farm of bourbon brewing men who are studs, of course. And then, of course, the story unfolds from there. I gave this one a 2.75 stars. The climax of the storyline kind of left me wanting a little. Like her whole witness protection storyline kind of flopped in my opinion, but whatever. It was what it was. Oh, I almost want to save, okay. Ooh, I'm going to save the third book I read to last. So this one, Paladin's Grace, is also part of a series. This was also free on Audible. So I was just perusing Audible after Bourbon and Lies was done. And this was it. It was on my TBR. So I was like, yeah, let's give it a go. Loved it. Would I recommend the audio? I don't think so. I think I would have preferred to read this. The narrator's voice is a weird combination of Optimus Prime and the guy from Game of Thrones that is Khaleesi's like right-hand man, the guy who originally was spying on her and then ended up falling in love with her and died for her. I believe he died for her. Yes, he did, because I cried. I can't remember what his name is, but it's a weird combination of those two people, and it was incredibly distracting. But this is funny. The paladins in this are hilarious. The two female main characters, also really funny. I think the fourth book is the second female's version. I think it's her book. So I do want to read the rest of these. They're not free though on Audible. Only the first one was free. That's how they get you. So a paladin is like a holy warrior type thing, and the god that he serves ends up getting killed. I'm not spoiling anything. It happens right away. Also, it says on the title, when a god dies, who gets left behind? So all of that god's paladins are kind of like shipped off to this other area. You'll read about it. And he ends up walking this lady home one night, and they end up in a lot of situations. It is kind of, there's a mystery situation happening. Then there's an even bigger mystery situation happening, which does not get solved in this book, which is why another reason why I want to start reading it, or read the rest of them, because I really want to know what happens with this other side mystery or main mystery, I guess. I do recommend this one, but I would maybe read it. So the last book we're going to talk about, Manacled. My book club friends told me to read this, and I sat on it for a very long time for a couple of reasons. So that book is a fanfic Dramini story. Draco and Hermione. So that kind of threw me off a little. I was like, how do I feel about Draco and Hermione? And also, this book is massive. It is so long. So I will say, because it's a fanfic and it's Harry Potter, which the author does not have rights to, you have to download this onto your Kindle. You can't like purchase it hard copy. You can't listen to it on Audible. You gotta do the whole special download. So this is a storyline. Very interesting concept. I will not spoil anything, but it's kind of like Harry Potter crosses with Handmaid's Tale. So the wizarding world, Harry Potter dies. I'm not spoiling anything. Happens right away. And they lose the war. The good guys lose the war. And Manacled picks up shortly after Dumbledore is killed in the book series, in the movie series as well. So the ending is completely changed, because after Dumbledore dies, things crumble and there's this massive war. And the war is quite brutal. It goes on for a long time. It goes on for years, and they end up losing. And Hermione survives, but the wizarding world is struggling to make wizard babies. So the prisoners from that war are sent off to essentially be handmaids. They don't ever use that term, handmaids, but that's what they are, to give birth to more magical babies, to help the magical families give birth to magical families. And Hermione is assigned like the worst of the worst people to go to. So it's a very interesting book. That's all I'll say. I'm in love with it. Probably the highest rated book I've read this whole year. It is a commitment. It took me a very long time to read this book, but it's worth it. So worth it. So worth it. And this book, spoiler alert for later on in the video, had a major influence on the decks that I use this month. So we'll talk more about that in a little bit. So let's take a peek at what I bought, the crystals that I bought at the Gem and Mineral Show. Crystal purchases. There are some. Just because I went to that Gem and Mineral Show, and I kind of did give myself some grace to make some purchases at the Gem and Mineral Show. I did make some online purchases as well, some Instagram live sale, but not many. There's just a little. So the purchases that I made at the Gem and Mineral Show, we'll start with the first place. Ericord Gems is where I got these two pieces from. The first one is, he called this a sphere, a Larimar sphere. It's not really round. It's yeah, it's a little wonky, but Larimar is getting more and more expensive. It's getting a little bit more difficult to find cheaper pieces of Larimar. So I saw this, it was $10. So I was like, yep, we're doing it. We're going to get this lovely piece of Larimar. It's one of my favorite stones. And I think it's only a matter of time before this is just not as affordable. So I did get this little piece of Larimar from him. And the other piece I got is this Cobalto Calcite. So I did get a Cobalto Calcite palm stone a few months ago, 2 months ago, I think. Not last video, but the video before maybe, of my monthly wrap-ups. It's typically darker. It's typically more of a fuchsia color. But this one was just so pretty. The pink is just, I don't know, it's just stunning. And the Cobalto or cobalt mine that this all comes from, I think it's Morocco. Yep, Morocco. That mine was purchased by BMW to make batteries from the cobalt. So it's also very difficult to get cobalt calcite. So that's why I bought this piece. It was $35. Again, nothing crazy. I was pretty pleased with the price of this one. He did have darker colors that I could have purchased, but this one just spoke to me. And so that's what you do, as you do. So that's what I got from that gentleman. Now, the reason I'm filming in darker light here is because the other purchases I made were from Trevor's Fluorescent Spheres. And in case you can't guess, they all UV. Every single product that I got from this guy UVs. So we have our trusty little flashlight here, and I got a few pieces from him. So this is a piece of Hakmonite. I don't own Hakmonite. It is something that has been available to purchase. Now, in the sunlight, there's purple in this piece, and I can kind of see some of it. Trying to see if I can make a, no, in the sunlight, you can see that there is purple flecks, but without the sunlight, it just looks white. And he did say that when I purchased this from him. He said in the sunlight, there is purple flecks in it. But Hakmonite is UV responsive. Just, I have an obsession with UV crystals, in case we didn't already know this. So if I remember, I'll see if I can input a photo of that in the sunlight. It's not very, oh, it is a little sunny. So we'll see if we can get the purple to pop out. The next two pieces, so that Hakmonite is from Bancroft, Ontario. He's labeled everything where he found them, and he finds all of his own stuff. He polishes all his own stuff, which I also really loved. He was a great guy. I want him to adopt me. So this is Sodalite, which I have not seen Sodalite that isn't blue. And I said that to him. I said I thought Sodalite was blue, and he said the Sodalite from Ontario is blue. Now, I've since researched it, and there's definitely Sodalite in other places that's also blue. But this specifically is from Quebec. And let's see what it looks like. Very cool. So we have some Sodalite that's not blue. These pieces are also super fantastic. They just look like a rock. If I was to stumble upon this, I would not think anything of it. I would not be picking this up. I wouldn't be giving this a second glance. This is called Scapolite, and it is also from Quebec. I'm dropping all my labels. I don't want to misorganize anything. And here we go. Yellow fluorescence. How awesome is that? And the camera just isn't doing it justice as per usual, but this is, I mean, I've never seen anything like it. So the lesson that I have learned is to always take a black light everywhere you go. And if you're on a beach with some rocks, have a gander. So that is the Scapalite. And we have one final piece here. And this is called Willemite. Willemite and calcite. This is from New Jersey in the United States. So this is a pretty cool piece. Let's see if we can see what it looks like under regular light, because I think it is pretty cool. It has some reds, some hematite looking pieces, and then the white is the calcite. Pretty cool piece. Big pieces of calcite on the back. But then bring out the black light. Pardon? That's insane. And the calcite is it fluoresces like a fluorescent orange. It kind of doesn't stand out as much when there's daylight, which there is daylight right now. But at nighttime, when it's pitch black, that fluorescent orange is also very bright. So this is very cool. So yeah, those are my crystals that I brought in the month of May. And I know I said I wouldn't bring any more in, but I don't care. Like, this was a one-off experience with the Gem and Mineral show, so I'm cool with it. I'm not going to beat myself up for it. Compared to what I could have spent, there were some massive specimen pieces that the price range was fantastic. I could have bought those and I didn't. So I'm proud of myself. This was all like, I think I spent $50 total, and that Cobalto calcite was $35. So yeah, and then he made baggies with the names. So I don't know, I am going to put these on a display. I'm currently in the process of creating a display cabinet that's specifically for all of my fluorescent crystals. Well, it won't be all, it'll be most. But I don't want to lose the labels and forget what these things are. So I don't know how I'm going to go about doing that. Maybe just take a picture on my cell phone and have the labels on the picture, underneath the picture. But then if I lose my photos, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what I end up doing there. Those are the crystals I bought in May. So yeah, I bought crystals. Are any of us surprised? But I really do have to not, I say this every month, I have an expense coming up, a large expense coming up in June, which will be in June's video. It's a trip. So I really have to crack down on buying anything. This trip was supposed to happen in September, so I thought I had a long time to save up for it, which is how I like to travel. I know that the trip is coming. I have X number of months to save up for that trip. But that didn't happen this time. All of a sudden it was like, we're going to go in June. I was like, you mean like next month, June? So we just booked it a week and a half ago. So I don't really have time to save. I have 2 paychecks until this trip. So I'm really no more buying. The gem show, like, it was an exception to the rule. Like, and I didn't even spend that much. So yeah, the crystals that I have coming are the crystals that I have coming, and I've not added to them. Like I said, it's kind of minimal. Like, I haven't even reached free shipping on any of the open boxes. So it's pretty minimal. Proud of myself, but really now I'm not buying anything. Decks that I used. So let's flip the camera around and discuss what happened in May for the decks that I was using. So you may remember last month, I was really enjoying using the Ancient Greek Tarot as well as the Desert Illuminations, along with the Prism Oracle and a bunch of other oracles that I tested out. But there were a few of my favorites, and I said that I was going to continue working with that because I liked them so much. But if you watched the books that I read, you would know that I read Manacled, and this is very much the vibe for Manacled. So this is fan art that someone has put together, and there's a lot of this style of fan art out there for this book. So mentally, I was no longer with the Ancient Greece and Ancient Greek and the Desert Illuminations, mentally. I was here. I was here with the HP Tarot. So let's first talk about some housekeeping with this deck. This deck is no longer called the HP Tarot. It is called the Wizard's Tarot. It is also out of print, both copies, this copy and the Wizard's Tarot. This is not the first time it's gone out of print, so if you really want to get your hands on this deck, watch her website, just keep checking. I can't guarantee it's going to go back in stock. I did email her and ask her if it was going to go back in stock, and she did not reply. But this version is the Marauder's map on the back. The new version is something else, something black and white. You can see this version is very high gloss. The newer version is matte, and it was for sale at Christmas time for 25 euros, which I did see, but I didn't buy it because I already had it and I was like, oh, I don't need to. And now I'm kicking myself because I do wish I had both versions. I wish I had the matte version as well as this one. This one is, because the cardstock is so glossy, it sticks. They like static cling to each other. I'm trying to do my best to show you on camera how they stick. Oh, that one didn't really do it. So that's kind of frustrating. And when we're shuffling them overhand, they're fine. They don't shuffle too terribly. But what happens is when they start to get misaligned and you have this situation, it's very difficult to get them to go back together unless you kind of wiggle some air in there, or if you have a table and you can tap tap. So that's kind of frustrating for me, and that's one of the reasons why I wish I would have just done it, just bought the 25 euro other version of it. But definitely keep your eyes peeled on her website. It's Paper de Lune, to see if she does bring it back in stock. Like I said, it's not the first time it's happened, so maybe it'll be okay. But back to how I ended up using this deck. Manacled. This is very much the vibe of Manacled. I mean, we're splaying them out this way to prove my point. I maybe would have made Molly Weasley the Queen of Cups, but okay. So on that note, there's definitely a couple cards that I don't fully understand the choices that were made. A lot of the court cards are paintings from Hogwarts, and I just don't know those people well enough. There are some cards as well that I think are a little more Thoth influenced than RWS, and those kind of trip me up. I've been doing, I was going to say a bit of a deep dive, but it's not really a deep dive. It's more of a toe dip into this deck and into the cards that are a little bit trippy for me, cards that mess me up, like this one. So this is one of the ones that kind of made me want to do a deep dive. So here we have the Seven of Cups, which is Liquid Luck from the movies / books. So I don't know how Liquid Luck fits into the RWS Seven of Cups. Typically, we have a lot of choices to choose from. We see a silhouette of someone from the back of their head looking at all of their options, some of which are good, some of which are not good. So yeah, maybe Liquid Luck helping you to make the better choice. We could do that. But the Seven of Cups in the Thoth deck is Debauch. And in the movies, because I haven't read the books, I know, for shame, but in the movies, with this whole Liquid Luck situation, Harry pretends to give it to Ron in order for him to get the confidence to win a Quidditch game. And the whole scene is kind of funny. It's a little debauchery-esque, if you will. And then when Harry actually does take the Liquid Luck, he's kind of silly. It's like he's drunk almost, and he's kind of stumbling around Hogwarts, seemingly not doing what he needs to do, but it actually ends up leading him to where he needs to be. So it is kind of a funny scene, and Debauch with him acting drunk and whatever. I feel like it almost fits the Thoth better. There's a couple others in here. I haven't seen them as I've been flipping through that I feel fit Thoth better. But there's a great example for the court cards. It's Godric Gryffindor. I don't know too much about Godric Gryffindor. I don't know a lot about Nearly Headless Nick, but we know more about Nearly Headless Nick than this lady. The Page of Swords is just the fat lady, that she doesn't even have a name. And she doesn't have a backstory. We don't know what her backstory is in the books or in the movie. I've researched it, can't find it. So I'm not really sure how she's supposed to be the Page of Swords when we don't really know anything about her. Maybe it has to do with the claw marks. Queen of Cups, we have Helga Hufflepuff. I have no idea how the Monster Book of Monsters is the Ace of Cups. That's another one I would like to dive into. Not 100% sure how Creature is the Four of Cups, but I could probably make that one work. I could probably figure it out. But this is the vibe of Manacled. So, of course, I had to bust it out this month. And I must say, when I was going through and trying to find Oracle decks that would work with this deck, the way that I do it, I always kind of grab the tarot deck, I shuffle it up, and I grab the Oracle deck, and I kind of go through and pretend I'm actually doing it. So I'll put down 1 Oracle and then 2 tarot, and I just see how they look. I'm not asking any questions. I'm not looking for any specific advice. I'm just looking for the aesthetic and if the messages work. So as I was doing that, I was testing out decks, and we'll start in chronological order about how I was working with decks. Also not a good deck for fanning out that way, apparently. So the first one that came to mind was a no-brainer, and if you're surprised by this, I don't know what to tell you. A Rockpool Oracle. Shocking. So I thought the Language of Flowers would be good, aesthetically, because it's black with a pop of color, but also with the whole herbology kind of influence that happens in Harry Potter. So we have Fortitude with the 9 of Wands and the 2 of Wands. Realization with the 8 of Swords and the 7 of Swords. The answer is here. Take heed. Oh my gosh. Spirituality with the Page of Cups and the Ace of Swords. Rejuvenation with the Star and the 2 of Pentacles. Cooperation with the Knight of Wands and the 10 of Swords. That's different. Take the hand offered or ask. Health with the King of Pentacles and the Magician. Okay, one more. And gratitude with the 6 of Pentacles and the 9 of Cups. Okay. So we were already off to a good start with this one. And even when I was doing my little practice run through, it was off to a good start and I was really excited. So that is one of the pairings I've been using. Not as much as one of the other ones though, which we will get to. The next pairing that I also fell in love with was the Wild Unknown Archetypes Pocket. So this is one that I'm not well versed in and I typically have to go to the book, but like, yes. Black and white backs with a pop of color. So Apocalypsis with the 8 of Wands and the 4 of Cups. The Shadow with the Page of Wands and the 2 of Swords. The Bridge with the High Priestess and the 4 of Pentacles. Anima Mundi with the 4 of Swords and the Lovers. The Destroyer with the 5 of Swords and Judgment. Oh, like, okay, I'm going to end this one here. This was also, in case you can't tell, it was another great pairing. And this was like every time I busted these out and played around with them to try and decide which Oracle decks went with this tarot, it was these 3. So spoiler, there's one more. Blew me out of the water. Like every card I flipped over, I was alone in my bedroom and I was like, what? Out loud, like a psycho. But I mean, yeah. So the last one, the Craft and Decadence Oracle. Now, I have to tell you, keep in mind, I am reading Manacled, which is a Dramini fanfic. Draco and Hermione fanfic. I'm going through this, and the cards that were coming up were so mind-blowing, I started taking photos of them, which I'm going to input here. I could not believe, and this was just when I started taking photos. The first several were also incredibly insane. But then I got to this last one here, and I was like, are you kidding me? It was like a sign. So this is the pairing I have been working with the most. This is the one that I have just been, like, I say this every time, but like, I don't know how I'm going to move on from these decks together. I really don't. Cozy Vanity, Comfy Arrogance, Serene Egotism, with the Three of Pentacles and the World. Undulating Confidence, so Flowing Poise, Easeful Swagger, with the Seven of Pentacles and the Fool. The Weasley brothers, Easeful Swagger, yeah. Return of Misfortune, Inescapable Fate, Unforeseen Doom. We have Severus, we have Salazar Slytherin, but also the King of Wands and the Hanged Man. I find that it's working really well with the characters as well as the tarot meanings. Cynical Dandy, Glorious Outsider, Paragon of Wit, with Death, and Rowena Ravenclaw as the Queen of Pentacles. Ancestral Watch, with the Empress, with the Patronus, his mother's Patronus, I think. And the Knight of Pentacles. Guardian Spirits, Familial Protection. Oh my god. Founding Father, Source of Inspiration, Identity Roots, Six of Wands, and Ten of Pentacles. Identity Roots, sorry, Ten of Pentacles. Did I say six? I meant 10. I'm so like, I'm blown away. I am absolutely blown away. Wisdom Cocoon, Inside Knowledge, Solitary Learning, with the Chariot and Luna, who was a very oddball and often on her own anyway, and the Devil. Every time I'm like, okay, this is the last one. Fatal Doubt, Destructive Untrust, Ruinous Loss of Faith, with the Moon and the Eight of Pentacles. We're ending there because I will keep going forever. So, needless to say, this pairing, it's worked in the sense of without asking a specific question. Like, just tell me what I need to know for today, or a reflection of today. What do I need to know for the weekend? Like a very open-ended type question. If I had a specific question, I found that this oracle was not the way to go. Even the pocket archetypes was not the way to go. If I had a specific question, I was going with the language of flowers. But the pocket archetypes and the Craft and Decadence, they were more open-ended questions, because I feel like the oracle cards that you get with these are a little too specific for closed-ended questions. But guys, I mean, you saw what happened. I couldn't have planned that better myself. So real quick, I'll just show you how it shuffles. Bridge, it's not terrible, but it's not fantastic either. It holds a bend as well, so that's kind of annoying. So because I know it holds a bend, I always try and like really hard that way. I have the weakest hands ever as well, but oh, it just made a liar out of me. That was actually decent for this deck. Usually it sticks. One more. So yeah, I've finished manacled, so I don't know how much longer I'm going to be able to go on with this deck and still feel the feels with it the way that I did when I was reading the book. Okay, well, screw me then, I guess, because it works. It also did not come with this bag. It does not. I bought this off Etsy. When I bought it, it came in like a canvas bag. Because this deck is so thick, I couldn't even close the canvas bag. So I bought my own, and it's perfect. Yes. Yeah. I don't know. I feel like I can't get over how well these decks work together, that I can't fathom putting them away and giving up right now. But also the vibe of Manacled is over, so I don't know. That's that. Those are the decks that I use. I was exclusively running with those wolves this month because I had no desire to run with any other wolves. This was my pack for the month, and maybe going forward. I say that every month though, so I don't know. And that's it. That's May. Socially, things are starting to pop up. I'm not getting to watch TarotTube or even YouTube as much as I would like. So I feel like there are so many videos that have happened over the last month that I have just straight up missed out on. And also, I've been watching a series on YouTube called Crime Beat. It's a true crime series, and it's all Canadian crimes, which is really interesting for me. It's older. I think the most recent season is from 2020, but it's on YouTube. And because I've been watching that on YouTube, my algorithm has completely changed, and I'm hardly getting fed any tarot stuff, especially new tarot stuff, from people that I don't follow that would be new to me. So I'm really frustrated with that. I don't know how to navigate that. I don't know if I should make a second YouTube account to kind of keep the algorithm separate. I don't know, but I'm super annoyed that my algorithm is now all these true crime videos that I don't care about. But anyway, so it's been busy. So there's been the algorithm issue. There's been busy. Reading Manacled took up so much of my time. Every spare second I had, I was trying to squeeze in a chapter, and that book is so long that even the chapters are 20 to 30 minutes. So it was even difficult for me to squeeze in reading more than one chapter at a time. So 'tis the season. It's only going to get worse from here. We're only going to get busier for the summer months. So it is what it is. I wish it would get warm though. It was freezing today. I could have had mittens and a hat outside, and it is June 1st. I don't want to talk about it. So we will wrap it up, and I will leave you with my moon tray for the month of June. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you when I see you. So I just dropped a bracelet. May's moon tray, if we recall. The bracelet, sometimes I put my bracelets in here after I take them off, so that fell down. The May moon tray. What I decided to do was green and like a pinky purple. This wasn't my, this doesn't scream May to me. Green is like the birthstone of May, so that's kind of how it got in there, but I didn't want to do just green. So that's how I ended up throwing in these colors. I do love this together. I do love how this looks. This worked out way better than I was expecting. So I love this, but it's time for a switch up. And with June, it's still kind of chilly here in June, so I don't want to go like full summer, although I was very tempted to make this yellow because I want to bring in some sunshine. We need some sunshine energy. But I also kind of wanted to save yellow for July and August, maybe even September, a little bit more orangey in September. So I have an idea. I have no idea how it's going to work out. In my head, again, it's beautiful, but as with these things a lot, they don't turn out to be how I imagined. So I might have to play around with it a little bit to make it work, but let me clear this out and I'll show you what I end up with. And here is June's moon tray. So in case it's not obvious, I wanted to do like a sunrise kind of theme. Now I think some of these can be switched around, like the pinks can probably go somewhere else. I'm not really sure how I am feeling about the order of colors that I have selected, but I just thought, you know, it's still sun related, it's still sun themed. And it's kind of, it's exciting. Like sunrises are a new beginning. It's, you know, it's the beginning of the day. And I just kind of liked that idea for June's moon tray. It's the beginning of summer. Sunrise, you think summer. You don't really necessarily think sunrise for winter. The other thing I realized about the moon tray, and it's kind of, it's not the first time I've had this thought, but I really like bigger pieces in the moon tray. I did a variation of this with smaller pieces, and I don't hate it, but I think it just looks better with bigger pieces in here. So I think going forward, that's kind of what I'm going to try to do. And again, I'm lacking yellow pieces, which is a shocker to me. But anyway, this is what we ended up with for June's moon tray. What do we have? We've got some rose quartz. We have some yellow calcite. I actually have no idea what this heart is. I just bought it. She was stunning. No clue. I thought maybe mookaite, but I don't know. We have a citrine DT in here. Piece of citrine. Rhodonite or rhodochrosite, I get them confused. A pink banded agate, very pretty. Yellow calcite, carnelian. No clue what this is, but it is chemically treated. It's got that aura coating on it. It's a variation of orange and yellow, so that one fits perfectly. We have some red jasper here. Kyanite or kunzite, again, get them confused all the time. Amethyst, and black tourmaline. This is kind of like, we could flip it and it could be a sunset. No, we're gonna go with the sunrise energy. But that is where I've ended up for my moon tray. This one always also has a dark, oh, do we like that better? What do we think? Damn it, I shouldn't have touched it. I should have left it. Anyway, this is where we've landed for June's moon tray, and I love it, I think.